Welcome to the Blarney Pilgrims Podcast, episode 5.
Top of the podcast to you.
Today we're talking to banjo player and singer Maggie Carty, and we recorded this live at the National Celtic Festival in Portarlington in a very big room on a Saturday morning, and it was such a treat. It's fantastic, so you're going to love it. Yeah. But quick word.
I don't want to say but like, this was the first time we tried the Blarney Pilgrims format in a live environment, and as Tom said, it was a very big room. And thanks again to Maggie for putting up with us and having a bit more patience as we got our way through it. But look, it's not exactly the kind of sound we would normally go for. It's a little bit more roomy and a little bit more reverb and things put on the voice. So look, it's not the same intimate environment that we normally have, but I think it's such a cracking interview. Her playing is gorgeous, so enjoy. It's a real cracker of an interview.
I'll play two jigs because it's the only thing I can think of. The first one, I think, I'm kind of afraid to say what it's called in case it's not the right thing, but I think it's called the Moving Bogs or something, but it might not be.
Right.
I got it from my brother, who in turn got it somewhere. I'm just drawing a blank, but I'll play it anyway with a jig I came up with myself. I don't know if it's much good anyway, but I call it Sydney Bogs, or Over the Bog to Sydney, something like that. I wrote it when I was in Sydney last year.
Beautiful. I love that kind of the dark minor feel at the beginning of that second
It's
jig.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really like that too.
Just to, I guess this seems like an obvious question, but for you, where's the original spark for you for music? As you remember it.
My first memory.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day when I knew I was coming on the podcast. I can't remember starting to play music. I can always just remember being able to play tin whistle. Not very well, but I used to have the same few tunes. I always remember my dad playing in the kitchen in the house, and it driving me mad. So, running through with my hands over my ears.
So it wasn't your first choice of
No, it wouldn't have been my first
genre.
choice. No, I hated it. And not so much the genre, probably just my dad playing. I don't really know the first memory I would have, but music was always there.
Yeah.
So what was the point when you wanted to get into it? What was that moment when you kind of thought?
There wasn't never wanting to get into it. I was just always in it.
Yeah.
I always played music. I always knew music. Always listened to Irish music. I was going to school listening to, I don't know, maybe the Dannon or the Bothy Band or something like that, and my friends would have been listening to the Spice Girls or S Club 7 or something like that.
It's pretty interesting, you know, like I assumed, because I'm sort of a little older, that you know, I grew up listening to Planksty and the Bothy Band and so on, and I sort of knew that they were very influential, but it's interesting that everybody who we talk to kind of cites them. I mean, they're so massive in terms of the influence that they've had on folks like yourself, even kind of younger generation.
Oh, they were the cool dudes, like cool bands. I suppose they were doing something a little bit more different in terms of arrangements than, say, just say fiddle and accompaniment or something like that. It was a little bit more exciting to the ear.
And you know that, not to get too sort of down the rabbit hole, but you know that their live album in Paris called After Hours. There's the beginning of that with the whistle at the beginning of the Chikeshtig. It's got to be one of the most iconic beginnings of any Irish music album ever in any genre. I mean, it just has this feeling of like, I remember hearing that. I got a tape that I borrowed from the local library, and I remember hearing it and thinking, it's never going to sound tired. It's always fresh. And So were all your family playing then? Like, so is your dad obviously, but you know, your siblings and so on. How many's in the family?
Just myself and my brother. My brother James is 2 years older than me. So we both would have been playing tin whistle, and then I suppose it came to sort of picking whatever instrument we were going to do. We had fiddles, banjos, flutes in the house. And just my brother, obviously, because he was a little bit older, before me, he started fiddle. And the only reason I didn't play fiddle is because I didn't want to do what he was doing, which I regret. I wish I could play the fiddle now. But I went on the banjo, and I can remember my dad, he was on tour in the States, and he found me a little 17 fret backless Vega banjo, Star Ain, I think. And I remember it coming back, arriving in the post office, and it was so small and cute. And he just showed me the notes, and I would have had a few little tunes on the tin whistle. So I remember putting them across to the banjo. So that's when I would have started the banjo. I was about 11, I think, 11 or 12. Right. But I never had any lessons on the banjo. My dad showed me what the notes were, and maybe every now and then he'd hear me. He's like, "That's wrong. Do this, do that." But no.
And what kind of guidance were you getting in terms of learning? So that it's kind of just because I can't really remember. There's a lot of motorbikes going past. When you're saying about wrongness and rightness, like what are the things that you were?
It would have been tunes, I suppose, like notes.
Just notes?
Yeah. It's wrong. I'd be upstairs, I could hear it wrong.
Because your dad's a fairly accomplished player, right?
Yeah, I suppose he would be,
Yeah, so he knows this, he knew his stuff.
I know, yeah. But I suppose it's like any father-daughter relationship, you know, or teaching them to drive or anything like that. It's never going to go too well. It always ended in like, "Shut up, Dad," or "Leave me alone," and slam doors and the whole kind of thing. So,
what about your mum then? Was she play as well or something?
No, my mum never played. She did some lessons. Irish parents. My parents both grew up in England. So my dad grew up in East London, and my mum outside London in a place called Watford, to Irish parents. And her parents were interested in music, but there was just no music outside London. It would have been really in East London, or in inner city London itself. But yeah, just.
And where did you grow up then?
I grew up in Boyle and Roscommon. So my mum and dad met in London, obviously, and my mum, when they met, they wanted to move back to Ireland. I suppose they both spent their summers in Ireland, and just mad that it happens that both my grandfathers, my mum's mum and my dad's father, or my mum's dad, sorry, and my dad's dad, they were both from the same place. They both went to the same school, and bit of an age difference, but yeah, they decided they wanted to move back to Ireland, and they moved back, I think, when my mum was expecting my brother, just on the proviso that they were going to do up the old family home, my dad's old family home, and for his parents to move back. And then my dad's mother passed away and it never happened, so they ended up just staying there. Yeah. And yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just was scribbling down a note there about the London music scene, because you mentioned London, and that's a whole other sort of genre of Irish music and stuff. But maybe do you want to have another tune or a song?
I can sing a song maybe.
Oh, lovely! Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know what you want me to do. This is Lough Erne Shore.
Hey, where did you get this from?
I actually got this from a singer from Boyle in Roscommon, where I'm from, called Vera Gaffney. And her and her husband Francis are great singers, and there was always great singing around Boyle. The Grehan sisters were from there, so I kind of grew up listening to lots of songs, and they would have been the first sort of songs I started to learn myself. So this is one of them, and it's one from the north of Ireland, so I'll play it for you. Okay.
One morning as I went a fowling, bright Phoebus adoring the plain, 'twas down by the banks of Lough Erne I met with a beautiful dame. Her voice was so sweet and so pleasing, these beautiful notes she did sing. But the innocent fowl of the forest, their love unto her they did bring. It being the first time that I met her, my heart it did leap with surprise. I thought that she could be no mortal, but an angel that fell from the skies. Her hair it hung down in gold tresses, her skin was as white as the snow, and her lips were as red as the roses that bloom along Lough Erne shore. When I found that my love was eloping, these words unto her I did say, oh, take me to your habitation, for Cupid has led me astray. All my life I will keep the commandments, they say that it is the best plan. Fair maidens who do yield to men's pleasures, the scriptures do say they're wrong. Oh Mary, don't accuse me of weakness, all treachery I do disown. I would make you a lady of honor, if with me this night you would come home. Had I all the wealth of great Aladdin, his gold and his genie what's more, I would part with them all for to win you, and leave upon Lough Erne's shores.
Beautiful. You have a fantastic voice.
Oh, stuff.
But I have to say, I'm in love with the sound of your banjo. That's a much mellower, pluckier banjo than normal. What is it?
Thank you. This is a JP banjo. So there's a guy in Liverpool making these called Jim Patton. And yeah, I got this banjo, probably got it nearly 4 years now. Brand new instrument. It's kind of got the look of a vintage banjo,
Yeah.
but it's brand new. I made the fatal mistake this week of changing my strings, and it was a bad idea. I broke one of them in doing it, and it's pretty hard to find banjo strings in Melbourne, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So does that have a wooden tone ring? Does it have a tone ring?
Yeah, it's
open back.
open back, yeah, metal.
What's a tone ring?
I think it's
The
this
round
So
bit at the back?
or is it this bit? I'm not really sure.
So I'm a 5-string banjo player.
Yeah, it's the
So
round
I
bit.
don't know how to translate, but the tone ring is inside the banjo. So if you're looking
This,
in
isn't
from the
it?
back, just right up against the head, there's a tone ring, and sometimes, like normally they're made out of like a rolled brass or something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
metal there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because
Don't ask me too much.
No, because there's a frosted head, so it looks
Yeah.
like it might be a timber one, but it's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
it's gorgeous.
It's so
I love
mellow.
the to the inside of it there. It's beautiful, beautifully
I'm
crafted.
a geek when it comes to
Oh, yeah?
what it's made of. Do you know what timber it is?
I should know.
Shut up, Darren. No one cares
I
about
know.
the timber.
Yeah,
It's definitely wooden.
It's wood, yeah.
timber,
I'm kind of afraid to say, but I know it's a nice one.
Yeah. But it does have a different tone than a lot of, particularly in that Irish sound.
And I think that's kind of the way you play it as well. I definitely would have a different approach to other banjo players.
So, what is that approach that? How would you characterize that?
I suppose I like to put a little bit more chordal work into it, and just a little bit of a gentler approach, and let the notes ring out themselves. I find banjo is an instrument to be heard. Obviously, that's the way it was made, to cut across everything else. But a style of playing the banjo would be kind of just hammering it out there and playing the tunes. And really giving it, I suppose, wasky to the strings, but I kind of would take a much more gentler approach.
It reminds me more of the kind of the frailing claw hammer, where you kind of got half a chord, and then you're picking the melody at the same time.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I'd love to have a go at that, actually. Yeah.
That's my area. There's not much call for it around these parts of that.
So with a song like Lough Erne Shore and the other songs that you sing, is it possible to kind of articulate what it is that draws you towards a song? Is it just?
I think that song is this melody.
Mm-hmm.
I like the melody. I like the story of it, even though it's not a hugely uplifting song. But I suppose it's just a song that I heard growing up. As I said, Vera Gaffney sang that, and I suppose I've got memories of being in great music sessions, and then Vera singing a song, and it just been so beautiful that I wanted to learn it as well. It wouldn't that particular song. There's other songs that I've heard and I've just loved, and wanted to kind of recreate them myself.
Yeah, as a very half-arsed singer of songs myself, right? So it's kind of interesting that even at my kind of very dodgy level of playing and singing, there is something about when you're learning a song. And you get to the point where you're familiar enough with it that you feel like you're able to inhabit it a bit, or it's able to, you know what I mean? It's kind of like it. At some point, it sort of moves inside you, and you're,
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm interested in that thing that happens both with songs and also, I'd imagine, with tunes. When you're learning tunes, that there are points when you kind of there's a point where the tune is like, it's sort of in your blood.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm definitely a huge believer in making songs your own. And like, if I go to sing a song, I used to have, when I first started getting into singing, I kind of had this problem, like, oh, I can't sing that song because such and such has sang that, and that's their song. But then I kind of got over that, and I would take a song maybe that somebody else sang, and I'd try and make it my own by maybe changing the melody, or kind of older songs that are so well known that they're kind of, no one really sings them anymore because they're just these well-known songs. But
like
try to give them a little bit of a freshen up.
Yeah. So go on to can you think of a song that would be one of those more standards that you think?
I do that Nightingale song. It's recorded by loads of people. They clung to each other. They went arm in arm along the road like sister and brother. They went arm in arm along the road till they came to a stream, and they both sat down together, loved to hear the nightingale sing. So that's kind of one that it's a very old song. Everybody knows that, and just kind of, sometimes those songs can be a bit sickening. Sometimes you don't want to listen to them, but I really liked that song, and I kind of I play it like that.
So you're in Melbourne now?
Living in Melbourne, yeah.
So how long have you been here?
It'll be 2 years in September. So I lived in Sydney for a year first, then moved down to Melbourne last September.
And from a musical perspective, what was that transition like? With regards to playing, finding sessions, and then performing, was that fairly seamless, or? Have you?
Do you mean from Ireland
Yeah,
to Australia?
Yeah. I'm presuming. Actually, I just presumed you moved from Ireland to Australia.
Yeah,
Maybe you came
you're
from somewhere else.
absolutely correct. Oh, it was very different. I suppose for a start, I was coming out on my own. I came out with my boyfriend marching, but when I was in Ireland, I obviously knew loads of musicians, and myself and my dad would perform together. So it was coming to Australia was the first time that I ever started performing on my own, which was very good for me, really, especially for my singing and my playing. Really came on. I suppose not having to just
no one there
get
to
my
save
dad
you.
to do all the work and just kind of play along. But yeah, it was a big difference. Yeah, I was brought over to Sydney. I was a musician in residency there in the Irish Association. So I did a lot of teaching and met lots of people, and yeah, I've played a good few of the
What's the scene like there? Because we haven't been up to interview many people there. What's the Irish scene like there? Well, not even just the music scene. I mean.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, healthy.
A lot of going on. Yeah.
You mentioned the scene in London where your folks met, and you mentioned that to me on the phone about that you listened to some recordings from there.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk a bit about that. So how would you characterise what that's about?
Oh well, I suppose the London scene. Well, obviously a lot of Irish immigrated over to London, and it was just a huge melting pot of different styles. You had a Donegal fiddle player playing with somebody from Clare or Kerry, polkas and stuff that never would have met, say, talking 50s, 60s, that kind of time in Ireland. Never would have met in Ireland, never would have played together. And suddenly you've got all these different regional styles playing together, and they created this. There is a London sound and of music. I don't know so much now, but definitely those early recordings, like that Paddy and the Smoke album, it's just something so fresh and so exciting and dangerous almost at the same time. You don't know what's going to happen. Just these different players getting together, and they're different styles. So obviously it was a huge identity thing as well. And my dad was born in London, and that would have been their the way they could connect with being Irish and their Irishness in London, play music and that music scene.
Was it? Do you have a sense of like whether it was an easy transition for them when they moved back to Ireland as well? Because sometimes going back to Ireland, especially if you've been born in London.
Yeah, well, my dad's still sometimes he'll still go, so when are you going back? When are you going back to England? My dad's lived there now about 27 years, no, more, nearly 30 years in Ireland, and some people, so when are you going back? As if he's on holidays.
Does he pine for London?
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think at all, no. Yeah. But in London, my dad always would have been an Irish, might have been a derogatory term, I suppose, when he was growing up and stuff, and in Ireland, he's always English. You know, so it's kind of hard, even us growing up, because my parents obviously have English accents, and our accent would have been different going to school. It wouldn't have been as a Roscommon accent, say, as the other people going to school. We went to a very country school, so our accents would have been slightly different, a little bit more, I don't know, pronunciation might have been a little bit different. So definitely would have gotten like you English and all this like as a very derogatory sort of term in school. But yeah. Have you gone back home since living here for the last 2 years? Yeah, I went back last January. I went back. Just had to go back, but I'm going back in a couple of weeks again. All right, great. Looking forward to it.
I wonder, because I've been here 16 years. I'm in that limbo land now. When I go home, I get stick for sound like an Oz over here.
I can hear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I wonder if you're going to start feeling that.
Yeah, I suppose it's because it's your vocabulary, because you're just talking about.
Well, you drop
stuff.
So many things. Yeah. It's actually funny on the way over here, and I apologise. I kept on putting a TH into your surname.
Yeah.
Because when I first came over here, I would make sure I was paying attention to pronouncing the TH. So. But it would happen in words that don't have a TH. So I would be like, thanship. I would just end up dropping it in. So, but I wonder, just from a musical point of view, is there a Melbourne sound, have you found, or a Sydney sound? Because you kind of have that same thing happening. You've got players from all over Ireland playing together. Do you see that, or do you think?
I'd say there's definitely more of a scene in Melbourne, I would say. You've got the Fitzes, Paddy Fitz and Joe Fitz in Melbourne. They're huge custodians of the music. It's a great session I play in the Drunken Poet in Melbourne on a Friday. It's great. would be great to be able to go in and play a few tunes. But to be honest, I'm not really there long enough. I'm only in Melbourne 6 months. I couldn't really tell you about the
There seems
sound.
to be definitely a young resurgence. Like it's a cool thing to be into. And I haven't been in Ireland 16 years. Well, I'm paying attention to music, but it seems like it's a cool thing to be into.
It is. It's definitely getting cooler now to play a few tunes. Wouldn't have been when I was first starting. Not many people in my local area played. I can only think of one family that played, so we definitely would have been the odd ones out. I played
just another way of being
different,
ostracized. Do you feel like you use that phrase of being a custodian of the music? Are you kind of, do you feel that in yourself a bit? Because that's a real thing, you know.
I think especially because my dad grew up in London, and they had that huge thing of the music being an identity and being really, really important. I think I sort of have that generational thing of it being so important, more so than other people that say grew up in Ireland and could take it a little bit more just for granted, sort of thing. I definitely would feel that. Definitely coming over here. I suppose I would be.
Yeah. I'm sure the people that have taken it for granted, I am the example of that. All my life I just took it for granted. I knew it was there, so paid no attention to it. And that's why now putting in the work to try and get to the understanding, because it's so important, and it really is such a part of it.
Before we do another tune, it's just I'm really taken with this idea of how so being a custodian is one thing, but like carrying the history with you, kind of in yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like you're sort of channeling some of the. It sounds very esoteric, and that.
Yeah, well, it is.
But you know that it's with you, and then it's coming out. And when you're playing here, right? There's such a kind of physicality to the way you're playing, and your eyes are closed, and your whole body is gone. It's fantastic. It's such an amazing, profound thing to see, you know.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Like it came from somewhere. I think we were actually talking about it last night. These great tunes, like how did they come up with them? And all like we're going back hundreds and hundreds of years. Like how did it, you know? And it's so, you know, it's Irish, and we're so lucky to have something that is ours and different like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I suppose that custodianship, you care about it. Players care about it so much, so then it gets passed on with some sense of integrity that it's still the same.
Exactly.
To some extent, the same tune that's being passed along because they care so much.
And we're so lucky that it did happen. Like, but we think back, say before even the early recordings. Like, thank God people kept playing. Like,
and also, you know, you wonder about those. There's this kind of tiny number of people who made it onto those 78s.
Yeah,
right?
who knows what else is out
think
there.
Think about the players who were kind of who never kind of made it. That, you know, it's really. So, do you want to do another tune?
Yeah.
Or song, whichever you're feeling in the mood for.
This.
That would be lovely.
I'm just trying to think what to do. This is a tune called The Mist-Covered Mountains of Home. This is like a Scottish, I'm not even going to play an Irish tune. It's a Scottish sort of song here, but I'm going to play the Irish version of the jig after, composed by Junior Crehan, and another one called the Gallowglass. So it's just kind of, we'll see how we go.
All right.
I'm in love with your banjo. That's so good.
Oh, jeez, it's a bit early to be playing.
So the Mist-Covered Mountains, I just realised when you were into that I remembered that from the Local Hero soundtrack album. You know the Local Hero, that movie, Bill Forsyth movie from back in the 80s?
Yeah, do you know what? I know. I didn't know that was on that.
It is. It was the first track on side 2.
Sorry, yeah.
Side 2.
Because I play another tune off that, Ry Cooder called Lone Rain or something. It's from that album.
All right.
That's on that as well.
Yeah. So, who are the players then who really influenced you when you were growing up? Obviously, your father and people in the family, but who are the other people that you think, if it wasn't for this person, I wouldn't have got to this point,
I can remember the first album my dad got me. It was the Mulcahy Sisters. I think it was Music from the Heart or something like that. The Mulcahy Sisters and their dad. It was a family album they did, and I could not get over these beautiful girls playing music, and they were so cool. So they would have been, I'd say, teenagers at that time, maybe 17, 18, and I would have been, I don't know, 11 or something. I don't know what the age gap, but they would have been really cool. And I thought, oh my God, there's something in this. They're gorgeous looking girls and they're playing music. I was like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to be them. And we went to the Willie Clancy Festival and they were there, and I was so starstruck of these girls, and they're chatting away to my dad and stuff. So I suppose that would have been a big one to. I really wanted to learn. I remember they played the Bag of Spuds on that album, and I remember learning it specifically from that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I spent a summer. Now I didn't I started the banjo when I was 12, but I didn't properly ever play it until I was, I'd say, at least 17. I had the same sort of tunes. I'm 25 now, same sort of tunes all the time. But I went to Inisheer for a summer after I did my Leaving Cert, which is your exam, the exams before you go to college, and I used to play in a pub every night with Ronan O'Flaherty, great Galway fiddle player, and Conor McCaig, banjo player from Monaghan. And I learned so much from them. I used to sit in with them every night. And I didn't have many tunes, but I slowly started to pick up the repertoire that they had just by playing along. I was probably wrecking their heads. But I started learning tunes. And then I went to college in Galway and kind of started getting more into music then, going to the sessions in Galway.
Well, listen, it's been such a treat to be able to talk to you and to be able to hear you play at close quarters like this. It's fantastic.
Can we be cheeky and have one more song and one more tune?
Oh, actually, you know what? Before that, I have one more question for you. This is what I was thinking of when you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
So, we talked about the Bothy Band, the Blankstein, those kinds of things. Like, is there, what's an album that you would steer people to, or a couple of players you'd say, like, these are the real thing that aren't on that sort of everybody knows them kind of thing? Like,
definitely Brian Rooney, fiddle player from Leitrim, the London thing. He lives in London. He's got an amazing style, and they're amazing. That's simple, making the simple tune sound like out of this world sort of
Brian
thing.
Rooney,
the Godfather, as we call him. I say my dad. I think my dad's great. Won't ever let him listen to this podcast, but yeah, he's pretty good. Obviously Matt Malloy, everybody knows Matt Malloy. I'm just trying to think who else. There's great musicians coming out there. Colin Gannon, Jesse Smith.
I'm just thinking about those kind of hidden gems, because occasionally you come across.
Connie O'Connell, absolutely love Connie's playing. He's from Cork, and great fiddle player. Kathleen Collins, she's an American fiddle player. Right. Gorgeous stuff as well. And
are you drawn mostly towards more traditional approaches to the tunes?
Yeah, definitely. Playing, I'm drawn more to fiddle music. Like, I haven't mentioned one banjo player there. I'm not.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I'm not really into banjo music, to be honest.
No, I mean,
I picked the wrong instrument.
Till today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I picked the wrong instrument, or maybe I didn't, but no, I wouldn't really listen to much banjo music, to be honest, although there are amazing banjo players out there. Angelina Carberry, great stuff. But yeah, I definitely would. I like to go to the source for tunes. I listen to a lot of the old recordings as well. Morrison, Coleman, Clarn, all of them.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again.
Thank you so
much. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks for listening to me ramble on here.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll have one more
Yeah, I'll sing a song. This is one that I've only learned recently, so we'll see how we go. And this is a song I heard from the great Joseph O'Haney, Shano's song, and I just love this melody. It's just one of those that stop you in your tracks, and just love it so much. So I tried to do my own sort of thing with it. We'll see how it goes. I think it's just one more.
Stór Mo Chroí, when you're far, far away from the home you'll soon be leaving, and it's many's the time by night and by day when your heart will be sorely grieving, for the stranger's land may be bright and fair and rich in its treasures golden, for you'll pine, I know, for the long, long ago, and the one yet ne'er will be olden. As Stór Mo Chroí in the stranger's land, where there's plenty of wealth and wearing, while the gems adorn the great and the grand, there his faces with hunger paling, while the road is dreary and hard to tread, and the lights of their cities may blind you, you'll turn a star to Erin's shores, and the one you left behind you. As Stór Mo Chroí, when the evening sun over mountains and meadow is falling, won't you turn away from the throngs and listen, and maybe you'll hear me calling. The voice that you'll hear will be surely mine, for somebody's speedy turning. Arun, Arun, won't you come back soon to the one that will always love you? Arun, Arun, won't you come back soon to the one that will always love you?
Thanks again to Maggie Carty. That was awesome.
What a great play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing when she starts to play. She kind of looks like she's being transported to a different dimension. Maybe she was just wishing she was in a different place when she was sitting talking to us.
My favourite bits of it, because Maggie, hopefully you won't mind me saying this, she gets transported to another place and then snaps herself back, and she's with you in the room for a second, and then she's gone again, and then she's back. And she's gone. It's so amazing to watch. Yeah. So thank you again, Maggie. Thank you to everyone that's headed over to our Patreon and donated over there. Makes a really big difference. That's where Dom has his blog, where his little add-ons to each episode. It's all those things he wishes he had said during the interview, but
didn't have the presence of mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's I'm part of the Blarney Pilgrims, and I find it really useful. You know what I mean? So if I find it useful, I'm sure you will. So thank you for anyone that has become a patron so far, and anyone else that hasn't and is interested, head over to Patreon/Blarney Pilgrims.
And that's it from us. Thanks again to the National Celtic Festival at Port Arlington and Una McAlinden in particular, and see you next time.
Hi, my name is Rosa. I'm gonna eat an apple. Please give Dominic 5 stars.